So one of the most intimidating things about VR is just about everything about VR. You need to have an incredibly expensive and technically sound PC. You need to have an incredibly expensive virtual reality headset. Although they are getting cheaper by the day, they're definitely half the price of what we paid for them when we started out. And you also need to know what games to play. Those are all pretty hard things to overcome. So this is why we think you guys need to know what are the best games that you should get as a beginner in VR gaming.
Our fifth choice is a game called Gorn, which is one of the oldest VR games, but also, strangely, one of the newest released ones.
That's true. Gorn has been around since the beginning of VR. It only recently came out on Steam. However, it is a lot of fun. The locomotion of the characters that you're fighting in the game will not disjoint your experience of the reality within VR so badly that you will be ill. However, it is absolutely nightmare fuel. It'll very much so creep you out just looking at the way they kind of amble towards you on their little tiny legs.
They're creepy.
They're very creepy.
That's really the only thing to say about it. But the game itself is actually quite a lot of fun, and it's the kind of simple, stupid fun that you are looking for when you are first starting out in VR. It's not the type of thing where you're going to go into it and say, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's very simple. Hack, slash, kill, tear apart.
Tearing apart is quite fun. And then you'll also experience the Charlie Brown adult mumble at you of the crowds and the spectators, which is just kind of surreal. I mean, I would not recommend taking drugs and playing this game. You might have a bad trip.
It's a little on the pricey side, but not nearly as expensive as some games, so it's worth a try, and if you don't like it, you can always refund it. Speaking of more expensive games, however, number 4 is Serious Sam VR: The Last Hope.
So one thing to know about Serious Sam VR: The Last Hope, and it's very important that you remember it is called The Last Hope, is because it is a single location VR experience.
It's a wave-based shooter.
Yeah, there's no locomotion, you don't move around except within the play space.
The reason that we decided to put this up above Gorn, even though this is a $40 game, it is charging you absolute AAA prices, is because it's super, super fun. It's one of the times that me and Crypto jumped into a co-op game and had an absolute blast.
Pretty sure we almost beat the game.
I'm pretty sure we only went through like 3 of the planets and there were 7. It's just an incredible experience. If you've got a friend to play it with, this is by far one of the best co-op experiences in VR, period, simply because it's so much fun. There's a couple of weird, wonky little things, like the fact that if a player is standing too far forward in their play space, you can't get to your upgrades in the upgrade system, and you have to move around people to shoot, so it's a little wonky. And there is the fact that it's very expensive for VR, but it's so much fun.
That's true, it is a lot of fun. Even though it's a wave-based shooter, it's a known and well-known IP. You've probably played Serious Sam at some point in the past, and you should probably play it again, because they did a great job. They've made 3 different VR Serious Sam games so far. So this is one of the developers that's actually trying to go all in on VR.
Even though this is a wave-based shooter, it is the best wave-based shooter. If you're looking for something a little bit cheaper and perhaps a little bit more familiar, our number 3 choice is VR Sports.
Who doesn't like sports? Who isn't familiar with sports? Everybody knows what sports are. They know the rules of the game already. So what better game to introduce yourself or your friends to VR than VR Sports?
I really like this game because you have so many different types of sports to do, and it's sort of like when you picked up a Wii or a Kinect the first time, the very first games you played were the sports games, because you knew what to do, and often those were the games that also had the longest appeal on those platforms. You could play with your friends in a similar space and do sports games. And I'm doing air quotes for that because, you know, sports games. But there's lots of different things to try out. They're all really well done. The game's a lot of fun.
Go local sports team.
It's going to get you moving. It's going to get you active. You're going to get to experience all sorts of different things. It's just really, really well done. And it's an attractive and pretty game. It's got a couple of things where it's very loud and you have to kind of mess with stuff to get it to work exactly right, so it's going to take you a few minutes of setup time before you're actually ready to play, and it's not a free game, so while we do recommend it, it's only coming in at the third spot.
Coming in at number 2 on our list is Accounting. Accounting is a free game, and it's probably one of the best experiences you're going to have on VR. If you're any kind of in the know about Rick and Morty, or you don't care about Rick and Morty, but you like really odd and kind of offensive humor, this might definitely be the game for you to play, especially because it's free.
Now, this is not a child-friendly game, but it is really beginner-friendly. You don't move, you just kind of do stuff.
Very weird stuff.
This game comes with a bit of a caveat in that it is one of the few games that has made people physically ill without motion simply because of some of the actions that you do in the game, which is one of the reasons why this isn't rated at number 1, even though this is by far the best experience game we've ever played.
Accounting is going to take you on a journey through the minds of the writers and voice actors that made Rick and Morty.
If you've played a game like Job Simulator, this is very similar to that, in that you're going to move through and do random things in various environments. You're going to see stuff and touch stuff and move things around, but it's not very demanding, which makes it very beginner-friendly. Speaking of beginner-friendly, however, number 1 is Rec Room.
Rec Room is probably one of the first VR experiences I had. Given that it's a free game, and that it has been continually expounded upon by the developers, this game is amazing. It is absolutely beginner-friendly, and it is also unfortunately packed with children. But the things that you can do in here are just so well done. Like, I have never experienced another VR game that was free with the level of polish that you see here.
Rec Room is the game that everybody should play. It is a game that you should get immediately upon getting your VR headset, because it is free and because it will teach you so much about how you enjoy VR versus anything else. You'll get to try out D-pad movement and teleportation. You'll get to try out shooters and sports games. You'll get to try out games where you move a lot. You'll get to try out games where you don't move at all. You get to do all sorts of things. Plus, it's cooperative, so you can get in with friends, you can meet people, you can talk to people or not talk to people, you can play poker, you can play darts, you can play fantasy RPG shooters, you can do paddleball and disc golf, and there's so much stuff in this game, and they're constantly adding more. Plus, you get to experience different types of hairs and hats and jumping around, playing with friends. It's a must-have game for the VR. If you don't have this game already, you should have it now. It's free. It's fantastic. Go get it. There's no reason not to have it.
They also did a really good job when they designed this game. The art style is not only very attractive, but the art style lends itself performance-wise to VR. It works well on just about any greatest system you can have in VR. And on top of that, the character models themselves are interesting. Instead of having shoulders and arms to contend with, all you have is your hands, a disjointed head, and a torso. So you don't have to worry about other parts of your body screwing up your inner ear by seeing them walking around. And the expressions that they make on their faces are often very accurate at depicting what you're actually doing as a character and what you're feeling. It's a really surreal experience. You need to try it.
Plus, with the in-game camera, you can even make a little movie if you want to. This is, by far, the most recommended best of beginner-friendly. If you are just starting out with VR, this is the game to start out with. So there you go, guys. That's our list of the best beginner-friendly games in VR. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Is there something we missed? Do you just think that Rec Room should not have been our number one choice? Let us know in the comments below. If you like it, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. But if you did like it, why don't you watch another one up there in the corner? And as always,
we'll see you on the next one.